see us live. Yeah, somebody popped up. So the only thing I don't like about it is that the people on YouTube, they can't hear the music. That's what that podcast over there is. Hopefully we can get over there and get somewhere they can hear the song. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Ear to the Ground 197. I'm your host. My name is Bryan Foley, and we want to welcome everybody this morning. I got my good friend, political analyst, Eric Brown. You know, if it sounds a little bit different, your sound is a little bit different. I'm trying something different this morning. A lot of people are not on Facebook. They're not on Facebook. They're on YouTube. So what I'm doing is I'm streaming live to YouTube using one microphone that'll stream in both places. And one of the reasons why I tried to do that was because I had a lot of clutter on the table. I had that smaller table. And so I'm trying something different with this Yeti microphone. This is the microphone I use for like Zoom meetings and stuff like that. It sounds pretty good, but we're going to say, those of you who are regulars on the show, do me a favor, type your opinions into the comment bar. Does it sound good? Does it sound better? Does it sound different? Because to me, it has a lot of echo when I see it. But like I said, I'm trying to reduce some things down and everything like that. So Ear to the Ground 197, I got my good friend, political analyst, and Mr. Eric Brown. Our third party, when we do our political analysis, we try to do this about once every 4 months, at least once a quarter, if you will. Ryan Griffin. And if y'all know Griff is highly involved with his son playing football, and it sounds better what Gail says. He's highly involved with his son playing football, so he couldn't sit in, you know. And so Griff, handle your business, do your thing, what you're doing, stuff like that. And for those of you who may have seen the flyer for this week's show, they might have been a little confused because I had three folks on there, right? But if they would have read it, it clearly said it said the dates, right? So anyway, we got my good friend Eric Brown this week.
Also, quick shout out to Bryan. He's a grandfather again. So
yeah, Ryan is grandfather.
Congratulations, brother.
Yeah, he got his grandson named after him. That's right. Yeah, that's the thing. If you're out there, Griff, congratulations, like Eric said. But like I said, so this week we have Eric Brown. On next week's show, we have State Representative Yusuf Rabi, and then on the 23rd, we have Ypsilanti Township Trustee running for State Representative, Jimmy Wilson Jr. And then on the 30th, we have Ypsilanti Community Schools Superintendent, Mrs. Ilana Zachary Ross. I hope I got her name right, Zachary. Anyway, hope I'm correct. Anyway, how y'all doing this morning on Ear to the Ground 197? And for those of you who have friends who are not on Facebook, we do have YouTube Live being broadcast or what have you. Tracy Davis of Tracy Sweet Touch Production is reminding everybody to hit the like button, share this video, and then in the comments type Y1. Why do I type Y1? Is because I believe in Ypsilanti first. So type in the comment box, if you will, Y1 for Ypsilanti first, like and share. So we're going to get into it. Like I said, we got my friend here, Mr. Eric Brown. Some people might call him controversial and rabble rouser. I think somebody called us one time. Somebody called you something. I forget what they called him.
No, they called a crew of us, myself and Ryan.
Yeah.
It's their lack of understanding about
that's what I was getting ready to say.
World space that we come from. So I don't get offended by it because it's my opinion. Everyone has one. Yeah. You know, like the man above split us with something else. So,
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, you do a little bit, you do a lot of detailed analysis. You get what I mean before you speak, and you don't follow status quo. Same as I.
Right, and that's what's important. And I think where people fail to understand, I don't subscribe to that go along to get along.
Right.
So if I take the position of standing out against the so-called majority of the people of color, so be it. I'm a critical thinker. People tend to not understand what being a critical thinker is, and that's why we have the controversy we do have in the Black community and the lack of unity.
Why I'm getting the camera together, brother. You said people of color. All right, I'm getting the camera together. I'm zooming around a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna do this right here and get us our look right here while I do this right here, brother. I don't subscribe to that phrase, persons of color. I don't go by it.
It's a rainbow term, to be specific. Then let's speak to our peoples, Black people, because I'm not big on the African hyphen American. So Black people, Black Americans, and we have this notion, brother Bryan, that if one person says it, that's looked upon in the media as being the speaker for Black people, all Black people subscribe to that. No, I don't. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not a fan of Sharpton. I'm not a fan of Jackson. I think they have their own personal agendas. And I don't just look at a television show, MSNBC, the Tiffany Cross, the Dre Reed. They don't speak for me.
Right.
They in no way speak for me. The Democratic Party does not speak for me.
Correct.
I was on a panel the other night. I was on a panel the other night, and the topic of the conversation was Black conservatism in the 21st century under Trump. Conservatism is a label. It is not a finite attribution to someone being a Republican and or being a conservative. One can be a moderate conservative, have viewpoints that leans to the left, to the right. And at the end of the day, one thing that we all need to understand, right wing, left wing, they come from the same bird.
Exactly.
So if you cannot understand that concept when it comes to politics, then you will continue to be lost. As one of the topics we'll be talking about today, what is it that the Democratic Party is doing for Black America?
Exactly. You said something about they're not being our spokesman. No, they don't speak for me.
Right.
Let's go back a couple of weeks, if you will. Will Smith proverbially slapping the shit out of Chris Rock. Right. And they said that he made Black people look bad. He ain't make me look bad.
No, he
made himself
look bad. His family, his wife, and those. Because I don't watch award shows. I didn't even know about the slap until later that night, having to wake up.
I got a call on it,
so I didn't know about it. I just don't. As you digest and analyze that situation, is rife with hypocrisy.
Yes,
due to the fact that after it happened, here's what's also wrong with us as a people. Had he been escorted out by the cops, our people would have been screaming racism. Even though they had seen a Black man slap another Black man
live on TV.
Right. Then you have those that are defending him as well as his wife, saying he was protecting her. No, he was not protecting her. It was a joke.
Right.
Chris Rock made it very clear it was a joke.
Right.
And I have to take Chris Rock at his word that he didn't know about her condition. But the thing with the condition is not a life-threatening condition. Had she had leukemia, had she had stage 4 cancer, he joked about it. That's a different scenario. He joked about a character that was a movie, G.I. Jane, that was popular. I mean, I never seen it, but it's my understanding the receipts from the box office dictate the popularity of it. So it's like, come on, people. And then for him to walk up there is an example of how love can be blind, as well as we have no idea what's going on in their lives. But the irony of all this is that last summer, all we saw on social media was crap about Jada and Will, Will and Jada. And people saying enough of this. But then now people want to come to her defense about how he was protecting his queen. No, she's ratchet. She's not his queen.
Hello. Thank you.
I'm being real.
She clowned him on the red table.
Right. An earthquake, people need to get the YouTube's snippet that Earthquake comedian broke it down, and he's right. You know, he's protecting something that would not have protected you, because had she protected him, she would totally sit his ass down and go up there.
Right, exactly.
You know, and then to further emasculate him after the incident happened, if the one comment is true, you know, he didn't have to do that. Right. I mean, come on, man. But you know, you have all these people, you know, and see what that incident did was put them even more in the limelight as it relates to controversy surrounding them. Yeah. All these women that were protecting her, all these men talking about he's protecting his queen.
I was even protecting her. That man was 50 feet away.
You know, and I sent you something earlier today about the N-word. You know, and even with that, you know, you don't call people kings and queens.
Hello.
Which is royalty. And then in the next breath, calling them an N-word.
Right.
So how do you respect someone and disrespect them in the same sense of the connotation of king, queen, and the N-word?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right. We warmed up, microphone warmed up out here, right? Ear to the ground 197. I got my good friend, political analyst, Mr. Eric Brown. Like I said, you know, a lot of the things that Eric shares and what he talks about, I share those same ideologies and values. And I've kind of gotten away with them. You know, when you start you get kind of popular, you get kind of soft and you tone down your rhetoric a little bit because you don't want to offend nobody. But F that, man, we're going to go in today.
I mean, my favorite phrase that I oftentimes use when it comes to our people comes from the movie A Few Good Men. Colonel Nathan Jessup said it on the stand, you can't handle the truth. Right. Black people cannot handle the truth. And that's the unfortunate thing we're dealing with in America.
Yeah, well, let's just say we ain't the spokesman.
Well, a lot of black people, let me say, I don't want to generalize. Let me clarify. A lot of black people cannot handle the truth.
So you sent me this text, good brother. We're going to leave the person anonymous, if you will, because it is kind of a general statement. You get what I'm saying? But you send it to me, you says this, and the person says this right here, and I quote, "I don't celebrate black people for just being black. Y'all ain't learned from Kamala." Okay. Now I'm gonna double down on that statement and quote exactly what Kamala, we're talking about Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris, you know,
but it's Kamala. She says Kamala, but you know, the average black person we're gonna correct it. They burped on the name,
right? Okay, all right. This is what she said. Vice President of the United States. "I'm not going to sit here and say I am going to do something that is only going to benefit black people." And she doubles down even harder and says no. Now, what she was talking about, a Lift Act, right? Let's get it in the context of the word.
Right.
Where is that? What she was talking about giving all persons who were below a certain income, I believe it was $100,000 per year, and giving all persons, right? In this Lift Act, if I'm wrong, but I'm trying to get it right. You know what I'm saying? It was given all persons. So she says is that, no, I'm not going to give anybody something just because of the fact that you're black.
Right.
Okay. Now,
even though she benefited from the fact that she was black and got elected.
Okay. So, the majority of black women who voted for her, and I can say this and speaking for her, was because she was black.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? It had nothing to do with her values, her culture, her ideology. They voted for her because she was a political history and because she was a black woman. Nobody checked her background, just the same as what you did when you checked the background of the now appointed Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji. You get what I'm saying? So, but anyway, I had to double down on that because you sent me right there when it says, and I'm gonna repeat it again. "I don't celebrate black people for just being black. Y'all ain't learned from Kamala." Right. Kamala, whatever. You get what I mean? Kamala, tomato. You get what I'm saying? What have you? Go ahead, brother. Break that down a little bit further.
Well, this is what we have not learned here in America. We constantly take pride in first black president, first black vice president, first black woman to become the Supreme Court justice.
Okay.
But we pick and choose what we celebrate. Because when that first black woman in Virginia became the lieutenant governor, because she's a Republican, black people did not celebrate that. I didn't see any statements from former President Barack Obama. I didn't see any statements from Vice President Kamala Harris. I didn't see any statements from the NAACP. I didn't see any statements from the Urban League. I didn't see any statements from any fraternity or sorority, Black Greek letter organization. But when Justice Brown Jackson was nominated, just based on being nominated, my fraternity sent out a piece of correspondence. The sorority sent out a piece of correspondence. The other Black fraternities. Oh, I'm a Kappa. Everybody. I mean, I'm a Kappa Alpha Psi. Sent out correspondence, and I hate that type of correspondence because don't send me anything thinking I subscribe to a mindset of monolithic thinking and groupthink. I do not.
Right.
You know, so don't just say that because she's nominated, you support her. I ask all the time, what has Converse done for the Black community since people were strolling to the polls back in 2020? On the heels of Converse gym shoes that Kamala wore. And it's like, come on, people, we got to do better because all these historical firsts means nothing when you have reports that come out saying only 8% of Black students in the city of Detroit public school system are ready for college. When you have a period of time, a 3-year period of time in the city of Benton Harbor, where not a single 11th grader, predominantly Black school district, predominantly Black elected school board members, not a single 11th grader qualified for the minimum score to be admitted into college. You had only 10% of the 3rd graders meet the required score to be moved on to the 4th grade. There's no, you know, so it's like we celebrate things, but at the same time, we ignore those things that are necessary. And I posted about, you know, I'm doing my 5K this year to be in 11 cities. Right. 11 cities. That's something I applaud myself for that because I did my passion. That's something I did on my own. When I first posted the amount of events that would take place as it relates to the 5K run walk for literacy awareness, it was on the heels of the Will Smith situation. I stated when I posted it, I guarantee you, that's my exact quote, I guarantee you that there would not be a lot of chatter as it relates to something positive that could impact the Black community in a positive way. And to my prediction, no more than what, maybe 5-10 people commented on it. And I said that if a 10th of the energy was put into what people spent time talking about Will Smith, Jada Pinkett, with regards to that slap, we would have a bunch of geniuses in the Black community. We don't care enough about things that are important to us. There's deafening outrage. I mean, there's definitely silence, a lack of outrage, because when that report came out on Wednesday, I didn't see the Detroit City Council say anything. I didn't see the white mayor of Detroit. They got elected on the backs of lost
85%.
Yeah, lost souls, got him elected, you know, so, but they celebrating Brown Jackson. You know, it's like, come on, we got to do better. We cannot continue as a race to play the race card when we enable racism here in America. Right. I'm going to give you an exact example of that. Clarence Thomas, when he was nominated for the Supreme Court, he was nominated, he was on the short list initially to replace Justice Brennan in 1990. But he was then nominated by President Bush to replace Thurgood Marshall. And speaking of Thurgood Marshall, when he was nominated to the Supreme Court back in 1965 by Lyndon B. Johnson, a white Democrat who also called him the N-word, people applauded that. You know, so we're backwards in and of itself. So circa 1991, when you have Clarence Thomas that was nominated by a white Republicans were not the one calling him the N-word, Black people were, because he was nominated by a Republican, he was a conservative. Then you come to 2022, and she's Ketanji Brown Jackson is nominated, and there was a lot of racial trope with regards to the confirmation hearings. I didn't watch that because I think the most ridiculous process in the American political system is the appointment, nomination, confirmation hearing, appointment of a Supreme Court justice. But the racial tropes were what they were. But at the same time, Black people, you know, are we or can we be looked upon as just as racist as what we accuse the right of when the way they were, attacking her or questioning her? When in 1991, Black people were the ones that were very adamant about the fact that Clarence Thomas shouldn't have been appointed to the Supreme Court. But people fail to realize she only got 3 people from the other side of the aisle to support her. he got 11. There were 11 Democrats that crossed party lines to support him. There were 2 Republicans that did not, but he still made it by 52-48 votes. She made it by 53-47 votes. So see how linear aligned they both were when it came to being appointed to the Supreme Court. But 2022 present day America want you to think that she just made it by leaps and bounds and she had this widespread support. It was along party lines. It was always along party lines. The appointment of a Supreme Court justice, there has only been 132 of them, has always been about party line. And I think it's a system. If we can elect our Supreme Court justices at the state level, we should be able to elect them on the federal level as well.
Yeah, thank you for espousing that. You made a comment that said that can Black people be just as racist as white people? And I have to respectively disagree with that premise, because racism is predicated on power, and Black people do not have that power on there. But what I will say is this right here is, can Black people be just as prejudicial and prejudgmental and biased towards white people for the sake of being white as white people are because of Black? And I will say that, yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
And yes, we are. But we have to look at the history of why we are prejudiced towards persons racially classified as white in America, and those of us who have been racist. And I use that term consciously when I say racially classified, is because understanding what that term was done was a classification system.
Right.
And United States of America is a caste system, whether you believe it or not.
Caste system within, ethnicity,
within a democracy, right? When you look at the Dred Scott decision, when you look at it for what it was, Judge Taney actually gave Dred Scott a way out when he told him to go visit and come back up underneath the classification of Negro, but actually come back in as an indigenous American.
Right.
And that's why that's still the way it is. A lot of people don't research or study the Dred Scott's decision from a constitutional law perspective. They just look and say that he said that he was 3/5 of a human being, but not understanding the caste system in America.
Right. And it's no different with regard, racism, the point I'm making as it relates to that is the fact that when you complain about the racial animus that was directed at Brown Jackson,
right,
when the racial animus directed at Clarence Thomas came from Black people. Yep. So yes, racism is a mindset, an economic perspective, as well as a way of being in America based on the caste system. But being a racist can play both ways, in addition to being prejudiced, because Black people were they weren't prejudiced against Clarence Thomas. They were showing the exact same racial trope towards him that you would expect from white people, but they were the ones, calling him an N-word.
I bet $1 to a donut that if Clarence Thomas had been nominated by the Democratic Party and carried those same values in there, that he would have been.
It would have been smooth sailing. It would have been. It would have.
Right.
You bring that up, Brother Foley, because it would have been smooth sailing, and it would have been the Republicans castigating him. Then you would have had the Blacks saying, no, this is, so you would have had, Perm, Sharpton, and Reverend Jesse Jackson behind him as well. So they pick and choose their battles based on convenience, and also as a way to,
let's say this, who got the biggest bag? Whoever got the most money, got the most money is what bag we working out of.
And that's,
so I'm saying, we will sell ourselves out. You get what I mean? Values, and this is what we got. You know what I'm saying? We're here in this city of Ypsilanti, Washington County. Some of our elected officials have been in office for so long. You understand what I'm saying? That they literally are not attached to their constituency.
No, they're attached to.
You feel what I'm saying? Don't have a clue what's going on.
Right.
That they don't even have to campaign. They don't even have to put no signs out in the yard. They don't even have to go door to door. Some of them don't even have to go, don't even take the, what do you call that? The not the ballot, but you get what I'm saying? The, where you get the signature.
The petition,
excuse me, thank you. They simply pay Go pay. You can pay a fee.
You can pay a fee and bypass the petition signature.
And then when they recognize your name on the ballot, they'll vote you regardless of the values and the things that you stand for, or even on your track history of what you've done for persons racially classified as Black.
And to take a step further, Brother Foley, no one ever questions, regardless if it's a Black candidate or white candidate, how all of a sudden a person whose net worth when they first went into office, maybe been $1, but now their net worth is tens of millions of dollars.
Tens of millions of
dollars. You know, someone the other day, you know, somebody they posted about how because you got to turn your financial reports into the Federal Elections Committee. So you have Stacey Abrams now worth well over $3 million, when 4 years ago her net worth was $190,000. Someone had the audacity to say on social media, well, for someone that helped grandpa winning the election, she's worth every penny. No, she got those pennies on the bank. You know, so that's how we give these passes, and we come up with these ridiculous excuses for why we give these passes. But persons making those comments probably can't even pay or having problems paying their rent, mortgage, car note, whatever. But they will applaud someone that became a millionaire on their backs.
On their backs, exactly. You know, so right, exactly. And I sit up and watch this play out year after year after year after year, and we talk about what the person has done. I didn't ask you what they done or what they signed on or who they came with a group of body about. I asked what have they done collectively for persons racially classified as Black.
Right. And that's a point as it relates to the comment about, you know, about just voting somebody because they're Black. And I'm sure you've seen the piece that was on CBS News with regards to Maxine Waters speaking to the homeless. And to show how out of touch she was, she knows she's speaking to the homeless, and she's saying, okay, let's all go home. Somebody shout out, home, I don't have a home to go to, I'm homeless.
Right.
But that's another example of someone that's in a dreadful community of LA, Watts, Compton, and she lives in a gated community.
Hello, that's what,
you know, it's like the hypocrisy, but you know, and then you have everyone saying that, again, Congress is rated at their lowest rate ever with regards to electric satisfaction. But you have that same electric based on what city or what state. Well, everyone else is bad, not my congressperson or not my senator. I mean,
and
that's that mindset that's so ridiculous. And you know, politics is the worst. Well, first of all, if you want to get, you know, people might get offended when I say this, but if you want to get rich, become a reformed citizen that's a pastor or go into politics.
Woo!
Quickest path to
success,
to success and financial stability.
Boy, you're not lying. You know, speaking of that is which, you get what I'm saying. I'm a member of an organization that's called Ipsy Can I Share. And,
right. Yeah. You talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm one of the founding members of Ipsy Can I Share, and I'm proud to say I'm the one who actually came up with the name Ipsy Can I Share. Right. But along with Ipsy Can I Share and the League of Women Voters, right, we've aligned ourselves. And what the League of Women Voters did was they created, this board for my show, and they've taken this board around, to various churches and to the community center to make our people aware of who your elected officials are and where you can go get help for resources.
Get in touch with them,
right? Because, like you said, I hate to sound like we're kind of sitting talking about Black people aren't smart and don't do their research, but fact is we don't do our research. We listen to, like you said, the pastor or that Black elected official who's been in election office for so long that we take their word proverbially as gospel, right?
I mean,
so
I've been doing this political game for a while. I mean, I wrote about it for a political blog on the Detroit News for about 8 years. And I know for my own research, my own edification, you ask someone about a particular issue, you ask someone about a public policy, you hear crickets, or you turn around, the person you asked, they disappeared because they don't want to answer the question. They walked away from you. So, you know, people get offended all they want, and they always want to question that they're going to vote blue for this reason, but the reasons they give you makes no sense in the world.
Thank you.
You know,
so we got a guy going around here. They asked him straight up and down, said, brother, what are you doing? What have you done for the community? Well, I work behind the scenes. The hell you mean you work behind the scenes? We invited you to work in front of the scenes. You get what I'm saying? We can work behind the scenes. Right. We invited you in to represent the people. But anyway, we have right here, City of Ypsilanti, Superior Township, Ypsilanti Township, and Pittsfield Township. City of Ypsilanti, the Ypsilanti area, I'm sorry about that, consists of various municipalities. When there was an incident took place with a Washington County sheriff between a resident out in the Apple Ridge community. Okay. And I've listened to people chastise City of Ypsilanti Mayor Richardson for not stating or making an issue on this. And I responded back and said that Mayor Richardson is the mayor of the City of Ypsilanti. And they said, yes, but she's the mayor of Apple Ridge. Apple Ridge neighborhood and subdivision is in Ypsilanti Township. Mayor Richardson has no jurisdiction or authority. So they showed how that person who was a respectful person, I'm not insulting because he wasn't the only person to say it. That just shows that we don't understand government, and some of us don't even know where to go to the jurisdictional lines.
Just like, one of the biggest travesties on here is the fact, and you look at that name under Congress, that is one of the biggest tragedies on this whole board.
Yeah.
This is someone that, actually, her district now covers my district with the realignment in the Western Wayne County area. And that's when she would have never, ever gotten a vote from me. And she never, ever would get a vote from me. I don't care if a mole was running against her.
I have reached out to, you're talking about Congress person, Debbie Dingell. I have
talking about Congress name because, the person, that name is what got her in office.
Okay. All right. I have reached out to her. Maybe somebody's out there. I have reached out to her. I spoke with her directly and sent out a request to come on the show, and I haven't heard anything back from her.
She's probably doing her research to see how you would deal with her on the show.
If you don't know who Bryan Foley is,
right? Well, I'm just saying. So she's doing her research to say, is it worth going on this show? But
so if she cannot share, and this was created by the League of Women Voters, right?
Brian, go ahead and explain to people what the League of Women Voters
is. People, right, get what I'm saying. And if people think that the League of Women Voters is a group, is an organization
that's pro-Democrat.
And they are not. They are not pro-Democrat. They are not. I'm not going to say they're not pro-women.
Oh, they're pro-women, without a doubt. But they're not a feminist. They're pro-messaging. They're pro-getting the message out.
They're not a feminist per se organization.
Correct.
They're
like Emily Group. They're nothing like Emily Group.
What they do is they gather information so that people can be an informed voter, informed constituency. So that's why we lined up with them, and we created these empowerment cards right here. Right, is what I was getting to. These empowerment cards that we put together so that people can know who your elected officials
you got one for every
community. I got one for every community, so you don't have any excuse not to know who and what you are voting for and why and how to get in touch. So that is why I aligned myself with these two organizations, right? Because they're not pro-Democrat, they're not pro-Republican, they're not pro this or that. They're simply resource information groups to put information out. And with that being said, that is what Ear to the Ground 197 is about, right? It's sharing and disseminating information to the 487, 48198 Washington Ypsilanti community. So that's what this show is about. And I think we've been doing a pretty decent job of it. Like you said, we may not be the most friendly when it comes to putting the information out about our elected officials who are racially classified as Black, who have been doing a disservice to our community, for a long time. We like to brag about what we have done, but what have you done for the persons the least amongst us?
And that question can be easily answered by saying, not much.
Not much.
You have an election that took place in 2020, and the person that was elected specifically said that the Black electorate has had my back and I'm going to have yours. Well, his way of having the Black electorate's back must be way back, because his tenure in office so far has been the most disappointing that I've seen. And people say, well, would you rather have Trump? It's not a matter of whether I'd rather have Trump, because I didn't vote for neither one of the clowns. But at the end of the day, and this is one thing about people that don't do research. So someone will try and challenge me about how bad the economy was on 1/20/2021 when Gramps was sworn in. I say, I'm not sure what information you gathered, But when number 45 left office, the economy was in a decent shape, even as it relates to the stock market, even relates to unemployment, even as it relates to black employment.
Yes.
You know, so the research that people do is based on probably Googling those so-called people that speak for Black America and going with their narrative and rhetoric as opposed to doing their own research.
Right.
Because there are so many reasons and factors where it can easily be stated that Biden should have never, ever been president of this country. Correct. And the very fact that he has the record now for the most votes ever is laughable in and of itself. This is a guy who has been in DC for all these years. And I always go back to 1988 when he had to drop out of the race for lying. I'll go back to 2008 when he ended his campaign because he could not get people to vote for him. Not even in DC, where he had been a staple for about 30 years at the time. He lost the DC primary. He lost to Pennsylvania. So it's like, if the people where he's been that are so closely associated with him don't want him, then why is it come 2020, people allow to hate for a man to dictate how they're going to vote for someone? And you can challenge me all you want, Black America, you settle on a clown that never had your best interests at heart.
Yep. You know, we're a misinformed community.
Very much so. Very much
and
so.
That's what I said. It's not that we're what am I trying to say? We are less than the other demographics or what have you. It's just that we depend. You said it so succinctly when you said that the quickest way to success is have a change of a lifestyle and then become a preacher and then become a politician. Right. You get what I'm saying? And unfortunately, in the 9 areas of human activity in our religion, that is one area that has been stagnant since the day that we were introduced into European Christianity. Right. And I'll make that real plain. There's different forms of Christianity, and we worship a European form of Christianity. Let's make that real plain. Anybody want to argue with me? Then meet me here, and I'll break it down and show you.
People will definitely argue with you.
They will.
Right. You have mankind started over in Africa. So how is it that you come to worship a man that does not look like the original man?
So and that's what I'm getting on. So we can get on that, and then they give him a suntan every now and then, just say it. But the ideology and philosophy still is in place right there.
Right. And then one point before you go further, Brian, when you mentioned about the Black electorate, we are the only, and it's indisputable, we are the only demographic electorate base that vote for one single political party at the rate that we do. And Hispanics don't, the LGBT, even though they're not an ethnic group, Jewish people do not, Middle Easterners don't. The last election, 95% of the Black electorate voted for the Democratic ticket.
And look what we have. Look where we're at.
I mean, you go back to 2020, even though a lot of people, not 2020, 2016, even though a lot of people chose, particularly Black men chose to sit out that election, still, those that did vote, 90% or more of Black people voted for the Democratic candidate, Hillary Clinton. We know back in 2012 and 2008, 95, if not more, voted for, I think it was 97% in that first election voted for Barack Obama. But then we want to have the audacity to complain about what the Republicans are not doing for us. Well, damn it, until you start holding those you vote for accountable, you're less than a damn about who you want to hold responsible, because you can't hold people you're not voting for responsible for your plight. You can't hold Republicans responsible for only an 8% base of students being prepared for college in the city of Detroit. You can't. How's that Republican GOP issue? And then someone go respond to my page the other day about how they would never vote conservative. I told him point blank, well, slavery may have started in 1619, but I'm not want to be on that plantation in 2022.
Right. Now, when you start talking about conservative, when you look at some of the values of conservatism, if you will, because it's not a political ideology, it's a set of values.
Right, set of values.
You will find that Black people more align with conservative values than they do with liberal values.
That's one of the talking. It's funny you mentioned that. That was on the talking points of the conversation with Western Carolina University, where I participated on the webinar, and I appreciate Dr. David Walton for inviting me to be a part of that event. One of the main talking points I utilized was the very fact of conservatism is about private sector.
Right.
Private sector is about entrepreneurship. That is a conservative value as well as about conservatism. And that conservative value equates to being a Republican. But everyone want to shy away from that. It's different. No, it's not different. Do your damn research and do a little bit of reading. Right. Private sector entrepreneurship is one and the same, but you got what, maybe 8 out of every 10 Black persons want to say I'm an entrepreneur.
Right.
You know, so it just amazes me. And yes, you could go back to saying how Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, Zora Neale Thurston, and all those individuals, Martin Luther King Sr. were conservative and Republicans. That was a different time because up until we had the New Deal back in the 30s, but then when you had FDR, but then you had Lyndon B. Johnson with all the civil rights plans and all that. And if he said it or not, it's debatable that I will have ends voting Democrats for the next 200 years. Well, if he didn't say it, well, it came about somehow, and that's how people have been voting. Our people.
Willie Lynch was not a real person, but in prosopopoeia he existed. You get what I'm saying?
Right. So, just like people referring to Clarence Thomas, Uncle Tom. Well, you fail to realize you are really complimenting him.
Yeah, when
you understand,
him, right?
Yeah, if you call any Black person Uncle Tom, you're giving them a compliment.
I just had this conversation with my dad about 3 weeks ago, and he said that how did Uncle Tom become a derogatory term? Right. And I explained to him there was a movie that was put out in the 1960s,
Uncle Tom's
that put Uncle Tom's Cabin out in that negative light, but very few people actually read the book Uncle Tom. Right. If the characters who they attributed Uncle Tomism, if you will, is Quimbo and Sambo. Right. Those were Simon Legree's lackeys.
So, and that just goes to show the lack of understanding and knowledge that we have about history or even just terms.
Right. So we kind of did a pretty good job of identifying, but where do we go from here? Right. Let me say this. I believe that we have to not vote for persons simply because they reflect our skin complexion. Right.
Well, that, and we have to quit voting for people based on a letter after their name.
Yeah, exactly. Hello. And who are reflective of our skin tone, but we have to vote for people who are reflective of our ideology, our value, and our culture. You get what I'm saying? And so until we start holding our elected officials accountable, this is what in a democracy, my understanding, and I believe this is the Constitution understanding of it. In a democracy, you elected the person to be the spokesperson of the people.
Right. That was the intent.
You speak for us.
Right. That was the intent.
We vote you in to speak for us. We didn't vote you in to be King Negro.
Right. And
to be king and lord over us and come back and tell us what these white folks said they do and what they gonna give us. No, we elected you into office so that we can go, so you can go up there, quote on 12, and tell the proverbial white folks, this is what we demand of you.
Right.
Now, if you can't do that as an individual, if you can't go up there and articulate and speak the demands, the needs, and the wants of your constituency, of your body, then you don't need to represent us. Regardless of what you think that those people are going to say, we don't care about what they're going to say. What we care about is what you carry into them, what we want and what we need. Right. And if they don't give us our demands and you have voiced it, then we will deal with that, people, as a collective body.
Right.
But you can't go up there being afraid to tell them no or tell them yes, predicated on what they may do next time or what they're going to do, because they may lock you out of this all-you-can-eat seafood dinner buffet.
Right.
You're more interested into yourself. So this is what I say that we have to start doing. We have to start grooming candidates immediately, telling them that, suggesting to them, well, let me say this, articulating to a candidate, this is what we want you to go to City Hall and ask for. This is what we want you to go to the county commissioners ask for. This is what we want you to go to state of representatives at the state and ask for. This is what we want you to go to Congress and ask for. Right. Instead of people going around here like what you just said, who has a letter before or letter after their name, and they saying, hey, I've decided that I'm going to be King Negro for the next 4 years, and that I'm going to represent us. We didn't ask you to represent us.
And the most amazing thing about all this, Brother Bryan, is the fact that politicians make promises while they are campaigning. This right here is the one thing that anyone can use when they go to these events by recording it. If you're not going to take notes, you record it. You have a benchmark for which you can use to say whether or not someone accomplished the promise they made to you. We in our community continue to be so forgiving. Well, let's give him or her another chance, you know,
to do nothing.
Yeah, let's give them another chance because they weren't treated fairly. Well, they weren't treated fairly based on what? Based on your perception was being treated fairly. The only determining factor of them being treated fairly is whether or not they treated you fairly based on the reason you voted for them. And if they failed in those criteria that they set for themselves for you to believe in them, you have that ability. And this is the only power that people have that they do not take advantage of it. The elector has all the power to hire and fire anyone that they send to Washington, D.C., Lansing, Michigan, local municipalities, or whatever. You have the power to fire individuals based on them not meeting your needs. If they make these promises, and we know already, and it's so interesting, we know already that there has been so many things that the current president has failed on with regards to his promises. Yes, he got time to make up for the promises he made. He said has another year and a half. But come November 2024, if you're still asking yourself, well, he failed me, it should not matter who's on the ballot on the opposite side. You either vote for the R or you don't vote at all. And people say, well, if you don't vote, you lose your vote on your right to complain. Well, people complain anyway, so that bull crap kills me. But at the end of the day, if you're paying taxes, you have the right to complain.
Yes, you do.
I don't give a damn if you didn't vote. If you're paying taxes, you have the right to complain.
Yeah, you know, we're getting close to time to wind up. City of Detroit, right? They recently passed a recreational marijuana bill, excuse me. And
giving priority, the other side piece of that, giving priority to.
Okay. So they recently passed this, but the vote passed, and I could be wrong. The vote went something like 7-1 or 8-1.
Right.
Okay. The sole person who didn't vote yes for was Mary Waters. And the reason why she didn't is because she knew that up underneath the state laws, up underneath the marijuana and the city's laws, ordinances on marijuana, that it would not benefit the residents of the city of Detroit.
Right.
It would only benefit those persons who had a brick and mortar and structure who could buy these buildings and sell them out of that and had the cash money to do that. She understood that that we as residents, we're basically consumers of marijuana. And we are not in the business. So the point I'm getting at, she was the only one who recognized this, that it was not going to benefit our people, but it's going to benefit the marijuana industries.
Well, not just
we're not a part of.
Not just the marijuana industry, Brother Bryan.
But let me finish the point. Well, the point I'm trying to make is she had enough kahuna to say, I'm going to vote no, regardless of what the rest of the
city council
thought. She stood on the truth, and she stood on that. She didn't play the go along, get along game. You get what I mean? But go ahead, brother.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I challenge anyone, anyone. You know, we talk about the recreational marijuana, cannabis, whatever you want to call it. I challenge anyone to drive into the city and go to some of them dispensaries. You will not see very many people that look like us.
In a city that is 85% Black.
And the thing is, those that are successful in that business, the majority of those that are successful in that business are the same folk that are successful with the liquor stores, gas stations.
Right. She had enough, like I said, she's not gonna vote against it.
And that's reality. So people, you have some, you have I think Calvin Johnson is involved in a business. I think that Chris Webber is involved, but truth be told, they're involved based on image only.
Exactly.
To have that black face there to get those other individuals more money in their pocket.
Yeah.
You have some stores, liquor stores, that are changing their business from liquor stores to dispensaries.
We got one in the city.
So Mary, she has, again, she has someone that has their ear to the ground, to take your term from your show, that really has his ear to the ground. Right. And he, without a doubt, they're a domestic couple, so he's assisting her to get her. And she's on well, I saw both of them last week, as a matter of fact. She's well in tune to what's going on because she ran. Good example. She ran a campaign on letting the citizens know, I'm gonna keep it real with you all.
Right.
She's doing it. And she's living that. So that's an example of what the citizens need to be paying attention to. Right. And no matter what municipality you live in, predominantly white, predominantly black, predominantly Hispanic, no matter what, it's your responsibility as a citizen, as the electorate, to pay attention to those that you elect and use the benchmark that they set for themselves in their campaigning. Right. To judge them come election time or judge them while they're in office.
Right. Because Aunt Jemima, she didn't make the pancake mix. And Uncle Ben, he didn't have no rice pills.
Correct.
They was just a face on the box.
And another example, you can always tell when there's not one of us in the room when these marketing decisions are being made.
Exactly right. So Ear to the Ground 197, I got my guest here, just in case you didn't know his name, Mr. Eric Brown, political analyst is what I call him. That's my friend. He and I and our partner who's normally here, Ryan Griffin. The three of us don't agree on everything all the time. But when we get together, we are here to do one thing and one thing only, and that's to make the constituency aware of what's going on in your community and how we can better our community. Ear to the Ground 197 is brought to you Saturday mornings by Blackstone Bookstore and Cultural Center, located right across the street from the Ypsilanti Public Library in beautiful downtown Ypsilanti, owned by my good friend, Carlos Franklin, and his lovely queen, Andrea Franklin, and my main man, my buddy, Kip Johnson, and the songstress, Miss Athena Johnson. She just called me yesterday. I got to return that call. Athena, if you're out there listening, I'll find that painter for you that you're looking for. Ear to the Ground brought to you by Blackstone Bookstore and Cultural Center, also brought to you by Blackstone Bookstore and Cultural Center, who's owned by Emmanuel Jones, where his motto is, we clean it right. Emmanuel Jones cleaning service, his motto is, we clean it right. Emmanuel Jones, if you're looking for cleaning service that cleans, down to the corners and stuff like that, specializing in commercial and industrial buildings, then you need to contact Emmanuel Jones. You can find him on Facebook. Finally, Ear to the Ground 197 is brought to my sister, Tracy E. Davis. Tracy Sweet Touch Productions, uniquely created gifts for any occasion. You can find on YouTube. Tracy, I was on YouTube last night, and I think you was doing the strawberries or something like that. I sat in and watched that and everything. You got a real good production going there, sister. You get what I'm saying? You had me looking, trying to figure out. I think it was the strawberries, what she do. I can't remember what it was she was doing, but it was something with some fruit. And I was watching that last night. But you can find Tracy on YouTube at Passionately Intrigued Arts, Instagram at Tracy Sweet Touch Production, TikTok at Estella Fabulous, Pinterest, Miss Tracy E. Davis, email her at dallas2dakota@gmail.com, and finally at Facebook, Tracy E. Davis. And again, Ear to the Ground 197 is brought to you by Ipsy Can I Share, along with the League of Women Voters. Like I said, we're here to bring information out. And sometimes, I'm blessed that I have somebody to come on the show along with Ryan Griffin, who ain't afraid to speak the truth.
I've never been afraid.
You know what I'm saying? And like I said, every now and then, I have to tell the truth. You get what I mean? I kind of tone it down a little bit. You get what I'm saying? My father said to me, he said, man, you can't beat them tom toms so loud all the time. You get what I mean? And I've been kind of toning it down a little bit. I'm trying to build up the base and all that kind of stuff. Don't want to offend nobody. Well, F that, man.
But the base needs to hear the truth,
right.
At the end of the day, just like, one thing that people cannot say about me is that I remember the first time I ever met, we brought up Sam Riddle not too long ago.
That's my
I remember the first time I ever met Sam, and we were at the Michigan Democratic Convention down in Cobo Hall. And he's like, I know who you are. He said, I don't agree with everything you say, but I respect you for having the kahunas to say what you believe and say your truth. And people can never say that Eric Brown don't walk it like he talk it. I saw a problem in the literacy space. I created a 5K run walk for literacy awareness, which will be in 11 cities this year. Right. Starting the first one, August 20th, right here in Ypsilanti on the campus of Eastern Michigan University. That's where the walk is going to be. From there, Chicago, Saginaw, Michigan, Los Angeles, California, Dallas, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, East Orange, New Jersey, Columbus, Ohio, Washington, D.C., and Cincinnati, Ohio. This was my vision. This is my passion. My goal is that this would be a national initiative, because if you have not been paying attention, literacy is a major problem in the Black community, and we cannot keep ignoring it. And we cannot keep turning a blind eye or deaf ear to it, because the more we do, the further and further behind our Black boys and Black girls will get. And this thing of calling them kings and queens, they won't reach that level if they're not educated.
I wrote a post last month that said, I am not a king. What I said, I am, at best, I'm a prince among four. And what I meant by that is that I have 3 brothers. As long as my father's still alive,
he's the king.
He's the king of the family, right? And until he chooses to place that crown on my head or whichever brother is, he is the king. Right. I'm just merely a prince.
Amongst 4.
Amongst 4. So one thing we have to agree is that as a community, as a people, and I said this at our meeting last month, at our men's meeting, that if we don't get ourselves together and begin to change the course that we are on now, in the next 5 years, we as Black people might as well go out of business as a people.
Yeah, you're right.
It is that serious and that critical. So we, persons such as yourself, myself, Brother Eric, and the likes of my man, sometimes we debate back and forth because we don't get to Shannon McFadden. You get what I mean? He that's Shannon. You get what I'm saying? Because we each have a platform. If we don't use our voices for the way that the Creator intended us to do, then we're just as guilty as those persons who are using their voices to misrepresent us.
Correct. You took the words right out of my mouth, because we cannot allow others to dictate the destiny of Black America.
Yeah. Who would ever thought this generation that's preceding ours is the first generation that will be going backwards since we were left from out. We have been progressing as a people since being freed from chattel slavery. We progress. This generation behind us
is regressing.
And
I tell people all the time, we had this conversation, I think myself, you, and Ryan, when we were on here last together. You can take so many speeches from Malcolm X, so many speeches from Frederick Douglass, so many speeches from Martin Luther King Jr., give those same speeches today, and they would be just as relevant today as they were those 50 and 60, 70, 80 years ago. And that's a shame. That's a sad testament to our community, because I Have a Dream speech in 1963 should not still be something that is relevant today, and you're still searching to realize that dream.
Malcolm X, the Ballad of the Bullet,
1964, preceding Lyndon B. Johnson appointing Thurgood Marshall as the first Black Supreme Court justice, and at the same time, the Ballad of the Bullet was directed towards that election.
Ballad of the Bullet, ironically, is, according to the greatest speeches of America, it raised in the top 10.
Oh, without a doubt. It's a long speech. It's a long speech.
A lot of content. But ironically, the I Have a Dream speech was first presented where? 35 miles right down the street, city of Detroit.
City of Detroit.
Malcolm X book,
Ballad of the Bullet, King Solomon Church, 35, in Detroit,
right down the street. We're gonna talk about this one day. Frederick Douglass stopped right here in Ypsilanti 3 times at least. 3 times he came to the city of Ypsilanti and spoke. And there's a reason why Harriet Tubman chose city of Ypsilanti as one of the last stops on the Underground Railroad.
And one more thing before we go, Brian, the path that we will be utilizing in Chicago for the 5K run walk for literacy awareness is one of the exact same paths of a march that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did in Chicago. So that's not enough of symbolism to get people to understand how important literacy is and the message we're trying to send. Then there's no helping our people.
Exactly. So ear to the ground 197. That concludes today's episode. Next week we're gonna be on at 1:00, right? And my mom told me that she told me that when she gets up on Saturday morning, she expects to turn on the TV and expect me to be here at 11:00.
Right.
She told me, she said she watches Wheel of Fortune at 7:00, Jeopardy at 7:30. So I got my TV schedule together. So when you ain't on at this time, you're messing up my routine. So, but anyway, we're going to be next week at 1:00 because I have a very important meeting that I have to attend, but we're going to have State Representative Yusef Rabi on here. And then followed by next week, the next time we're going to have Ypsilanti Township trustee, Jimmy Wilson Jr. running for state representative. And then we're going to have, I hope I'm saying her name correctly, but then we're going to have the Ypsilanti School Superintendent, Elena Zachary Ross, on. Then I'm going to have a special guest on after that. I'm going to have one of the Funketeers, and I don't know if you know about the Funketeers, right? Yeah. My man on here, they got some big things happening with him, and I'm going to share our relationship and how I kind of brought the Funketeers out of retirement back in the day. I haven't showed that video yet.
Yeah, Netflix or something about doing a bio on George Clinton.
Yeah, they got a bio being done on them right now, the Funketeers, right? So ear to the ground 197. Catch y'all next week with that. Like I said, all power to the people, because the people is where the power lies.